Good morning. Welcome to Up to the Minute. I'm Todd Duplantis, and we're live at the HCCTV studios this morning. We've got your HCC news and information coming up and some special guests on the way. But my co-host every Monday, Dr. Nicholas Cox with the History Department. Nick, always good to see you.
Hey, Todd. Great to see you again, too. How was your weekend?
It was not a bad weekend. Weather was a little warmer, and, it kind of started off as a good weekend, but then the Astros played last night. And that wasn't a good thing. We'll see what happens tomorrow night. See what happens tonight. We're still holding hope, right?
That's right. That's right. It's not over yet. It's not over yet.
Not over yet.
I spent.
Nick, what's that?
I spent Saturday in Webster at the area marching band contest, and my son's band made it almost advanced to state, but not quite. So that is over.
Well, it's good.
It was a nice
that good that he had that chance. I know it's disappointing for him, but I'm sure you love the experience. Sounds like we got some background noise on the show. I don't know if you're hearing that too.
I do. We'll take care of it.
Yeah. Okay. We'll move on. Nick, it's a somber day here at HCC. We learned some tragic news over the weekend as our colleague and friend, Dr. Kurt Ewan, passed away Saturday morning after a lengthy battle with ALS. During his tenure, Dr. Ewan served as Chief of Staff and Vice Chancellor of Strategy Planning and Institutional Effectiveness. He was also a very valued member with the Chancellor's Executive Council. Our interim chancellor, Dr. Margaret Ford Fisher, sent out an email this morning saying Dr. Ewan, quote, was a steadfast champion of community colleges. Dr. Ewan sought to improve the lives of students and others, including faculty and staff. His support of education, evidenced in part by the Ewan Family Endowed Chairs for Teaching and Learning Excellence Awards, which he established, is a testament to his commitment to higher education, unquote. Dr. Ewan also played a vital role in guiding HCC through the COVID pandemic. I had the pleasure of meeting him right after his arrival here to HCC, and of course, interviewing him on this show and working with him over the years. He's been on the show many, many times, and he was an inspiration to us all, and he certainly will be missed. And Nick, I know you were very familiar with Dr. Ewan yourself.
Yeah. I suppose we probably met shortly after he arrived. We took a nice trip to Long Beach for the Achieving the Dream Summit. He worked on things here like our SACS accreditation, the creation of our shared governance model that includes the faculty senate, staff senate, and some other ways to provide greater input to the chancellor's cabinet. And he was definitely involved in a lot of the T100 meetings that were involved in safely getting us through COVID in those years. A great colleague.
And he will be missed by many here at HCC. So thank you for being here this morning. We're live on Facebook and YouTube. We're live at 10 a.m. just about every morning when HCC is in session. One day this week we won't be on. We'll talk about that later on in the show. But Nick, they can also catch us anytime in social media and on our district cable channel.
Yeah, that's right, Todd. We're live on the Houston Community College District's Facebook page and on YouTube. We're also on X, LinkedIn, and HCCTV at noon, 5, and 10 p.m. Monday through Friday.
Okay, it's Mental Health Monday, and our monthly HCC counseling guest is talking about October being Domestic Violence Awareness Month. Morgan Tuck joins us. She's a counselor at HCC's Northwest College. Good to see you again, Morgan. Thanks for being here.
Good morning, you all. Glad to be here.
We're looking forward to hearing from you. We'll be with you in about 10 minutes. Stick around. Okay, we've got a guest joining us now, an alum who has an upcoming book in History Department event about a very famous rapper. Lance Scott Walker is the author of DJ Screw, A Life in Slow Revolution, and a former HCC student. Good to see you. Thanks for being on the show, Lance.
Thanks for having me. Good morning.
Now, tell us, let's start talking right off about the event you have coming up, because it's an event with our History Department. When, where, what are all the details?
It is Thursday, November 2nd at 6 p.m. and it'll be in the San Jacinto Auditorium in the main campus building there. And it'll be a talk about my book, but I'm also going to talk about the journey to make the book. A book doesn't just come out of nowhere, and takes a lot of years of working and and plenty of years of taking classes at HCC. So it'll be kind of career spanning, but I'll talk to the students about the journey to get there.
And tell us a bit about the book, which is celebrating 50 years of hip hop, I believe.
It celebrates 50 years of hip hop in the same way that that everything that is coming out in the last couple of years does. But it's really a celebration of Houston hip hop and Houston's contributions to hip hop globally, and a celebration of the community of rappers and producers and other people who were in the circle of DJ Screw. I interviewed people who knew him. DJ Screw passed away almost 23 years ago, and so I wasn't able to talk to him for the book, but I did interview people who knew him and members of his family, and created an oral history that celebrates him and talks about him, and has done so in the voices of the people who are around him.
It always fascinates me, how much research and how long did you work on this book? Because I don't think people realize how much time goes into a project like this.
It takes forever because the research is not the kind that you can necessarily do in a library, although there's plenty of parts of it that, where the library really helps with the context of everything. But so much of it was oral history based. I started the overall project in 2005 with a photographer, Peter Best, who actually, he's the one who started the whole project, as a photo project, and brought me in 2005 when I was writing for the Houston Chronicle. So I'd say a year and a half in, I started getting the idea that a book on DJ Screw would be a good addition. As we were doing a book that was sort of a general overview of Houston hip hop history, and so I started it then. I didn't actually start putting the book together in earnest until about 2015. But then once I got to that point, I worked straight through on it.
You live in New York now, but tell us a little bit about your background, because that sounds like we hung out in a lot of the same places.
Yeah. Well,
early 90s.
Yeah, hip hop got a hold of me in 1984 when I was 11 years old. And same time, it kind of got a hold of everybody, and through the different collaborations in hip hop, it led me to punk rock. And punk rock is once I became a musician as a teenager, that's the kind of music I started making. And so I started playing drums and guitar and bass in punk rock bands. And then I moved to Houston and fell in love. I fell in love with Houston before I moved there and started playing in bands there. And punk rock is a very DIY, do it yourself ethos. And once I started working on the Houston Rap Project, I saw the same qualities in the rappers and the artists from Houston, because they weren't focused on getting major label deals and appealing to fans in New York and LA and elsewhere. They were really just focused on Houston and doing it themselves. And so I feel like my background in punk rock has been something that's really connected me to this music over the years.
And you also worked for some local papers here in the Houston area as well.
I did. Yeah. I started with the Houston Press in 2002, 2003, and I was writing record reviews for them and some profiles of artists. And then in 2004, 2005, I started writing for the Houston Chronicle, and I wrote about nightlife for the Chronicle. I wrote a column called Bar Tab, and where I would go out in Houston with a photographer and just, not necessarily just all the hip places in the Montrose and downtown and everything like that, but we'd kind of go all over the city. And so it was a really great thing, because I really got to know the city in a way that you don't unless you kind of have a directive like that. And so it really educated me about the city in a way that I think that I never otherwise would have understood Houston.
Tell us about the Houston Rap Project and also transitioning to New York.
So the Houston Rap Project was the project I was talking about with Peter Best, where we worked on a book that was a photo book with an oral history component. So basically, Peter put together a book that was photos that he had taken of the Houston rap scene, and I interviewed people and created an oral history that weaved in and out of that narrative. That collaboration produced another book, Houston Rap Tapes, which is a book of interviews. And then once I started talking to the University of Texas Press, they wanted to republish the Houston Rap Tapes book. And so we goosed it and we, fattened it up and and I did a lot more interviews and some visual elements, and so that was all of that is really what led to the DJ Screw project. But I ended up in Houston. I ended up leaving Houston and going to New York in late 2006 to work with Peter Best, to be closer to him and working on the project, which sounds kind of backwards because all the source material was in Houston, but he was making trips back and forth to Houston, and then so I was just doing that with him, and being in New York really, I think, helped me zoom out and give the whole project a little bit more of a global perspective. Whereas if I think I would have just stayed in Houston, I would have the Houston part down, which I wasn't worried about anyway. Right. But it gave me a way to kind of zoom out and to give it a more context within the hip hop world.
For people who may not know, how influential was the Houston rap scene to hip hop overall, in your opinion?
Well, it's massively influential. I mean, people will talk about how when you hear, a lot of times you hear mainstream hip hop nowadays, where there's elements of it that are slowed down, and no doubt most of the time that influence comes from DJ Screw, who would take 2 copies of the same record and put them on the turntable and play one of them a little bit behind the other one so that he could chop back and forth and create new rhythms out of it. And then when he recorded it to tape, he would slow it down and make copies of it. So you hear that influence, but I also think it goes back a lot further than that. When you think about, Scarface and Willie D are from the Ghetto Boys are acknowledged as some of the greatest rappers of all time. And I think that their rhythmic influence, their lyrical influence, and sort of their attack and the way that they've done, the way that they've approached their lyricism and their delivery, I think it's a more of a hidden influence. I don't think it's something that you can exactly pinpoint in the same sort of way. But I think there's a lot of that in hip hop. When you think about how many classic songs the Ghetto Boys have that are in rotation, It Feels Good to Be a Gangster or Mind Playing Tricks. You hear those songs all the time on the radio, even here in New York to this day. So I think that, Houston's influence is really far and wide and will continue to be for generations.
We've been talking with Lance Scott Walker. He's the author of DJ Screw, A Life in Slow Revolution, former HCC student, and it sounds like a former Houstonian, as he's living now in the New York area. He's got an event coming up next week. We'll have all the information in our social media post after the show. Lance, thanks for being here. Continued success, and we look forward to seeing you in town.
Thanks so much for having me. I appreciate it.
All right. We're going to move on. It's Mental Health Monday as well. And Nick, you've got a recurring guest joining you right now.
Oh, that's right. Welcome back to the show, Ms. Morgan Tuck, HCC Northwest Counselor and our Mental Health Monday guest.
Good morning.
So I understand October is National Domestic Violence Month. And often people have their kind of own personal definitions of what domestic violence means. But give us a basic common definition so we can talk about this issue.
Absolutely. So domestic violence can also be referred to as intimate partner violence, dating abuse, or relationship abuse. But in general, all of those terms are interchangeable, and they all mean basically that it's a pattern of behavior used by one partner to maintain power and control over another partner in an intimate relationship. Another thing that I want to point out is that domestic violence does not discriminate. And so people of any race, age, gender, sexuality can be impacted by it. This includes behaviors that may physically harm the partner, intimidate, manipulate, control the partner, or just basically force them to do things that they do not want to do. And this can be done through physical threats, emotional abuse, financial control, or even in many other ways.
No, I appreciate that. A lot of people often make a distinction between violent and nonviolent based on, physical actions. But the ideas of emotional abuse and financial control or intimidation, verbal abuse, these are all huge concerns as well. I understand maybe you have some updated statistics on domestic violence. What's the data tell us about domestic violence out there in our world today?
Well, the has definitely increased. We saw a growth of about 23% throughout the pandemic. And so, sometimes home is not necessarily a happy place for everyone, unfortunately. And so when we were forced to lock down, that definitely saw a spike in the numbers when it pertains to domestic violence. And again, a lot of people think that this may be to heterosexual couples, but we've also seen a major jump in homosexual couples as well. So again, this can definitely impact everyone, and so important for people to get help.
Well, should we have any optimism that as we reopen and as we spend less and less time on lockdown, to see those numbers come down, or have patterns been set that you think might really take some time to heal?
Absolutely. I do think that from the pandemic, there has been lots of new resources that have come out of it to be able to get people help in very quick and efficient ways. And I really think that is going to see the turn. A couple of warning signs, though, that I think that people may need to pay attention to, so they can know how to be proactive and how to be able to help. So if you find yourself in a relationship to where many times your partner is telling you that you don't do things right, they may show extreme jealousy between your friends, or just when they're not spending a lot of time with you, if they're preventing you from doing other things that you like to do, as far as like working or your hobbies, preventing you from making your own decisions and just sort of being your own independent person. And then intimidation. So that is also a big one. So if they are threatening you, whether that's with violence, with that's weapons, sometimes they can just be a look. Destroying your things also can be a big warning sign. So I think that the more information that we have of potential abuse, the more that'll be for this to be able to get the support that they need.
Well, I'd like to come back and ask you about warning signs that bystanders or outsiders could possibly notice as well. But for someone who is on the inside, someone who is experiencing domestic abuse, does HCC and our counseling services offer them support in order to help them reduce, minimize, or escape these issues?
Absolutely, absolutely. So the Counseling and Ability Services office definitely will work with people who are experiencing domestic violence. That can be through our counseling services. We typically will provide short-term, also linking them up to resources as well. We even have potential accommodations that we can give to our students who are experiencing domestic violence. And so all of that falls under our Title IX resources. And so if any of our students are experiencing, whether the partner is at the school or not, it does not matter. If you are registered here and you know of someone who is experiencing domestic violence, or you yourself are in a domestic violence situation, please do not hesitate to contact the counseling office, because we have a litany of resources that we can link our students up to, including as well as community.
No, that's really helpful to hear, because I do think a lot of our audience are students, and they may not realize the services that HCC counseling makes available to them. Now, the other side of it is that a lot of our audience are also staff and faculty. What can and what should an HCC employee do if they become aware or concerned that one of our students is a victim of domestic abuse? What should faculty and staff do?
Absolutely. So logistically, the first thing that they would want to do is put in a Maxine report. So that way, all of the proper channels can be notified, and we can directly be able to contact that student and make sure that they get the support that they need. But obviously, that's very heavy if a student discloses that to a faculty or a staff member. So just some general tips that they can do in addition to reporting it would be to definitely have that conversation with a time and a that's safe for the student. And so you don't want to necessarily have that conversation out in the open or where other people can hear it. You definitely want to express concern. And so I would say things such as, I'm worried about your safety, or I'm concerned that someone, may be hurting you, and just sort of encouraging and supporting them. You definitely can encourage them to build a support system. And so A lot of times the student may not know, where to turn, or they may not even want to tell anybody, but definitely the more support that they can get, the better off that they're going to be. So really encouraging them to build a wide support system, and just definitely communicate to them that none of this is their fault. They did not ask for it, and that they definitely can bounce back from it with the proper help.
All right. Well, before we wrap up, I'd like to know, do we have any on-campus or virtual events in the month of October related to domestic abuse that our students can attend or participate in? Things happening?
Yes. So we had a domestic violence seminar about a week ago at the Northwest College. If you go to our counseling website, hcc.edu/counseling, and there is a calendar of events, because that will include all of the domestic violence related that's going to be going.
Oh, I think we lost
throughout the month. Even though October is wrapping up and I have domestic violence, I want everyone to know that we are always available for any sort of resources that anyone may need, whether it's for the support of another person or for the victim directly.
All right. Well, thank you very much. I know it's a month-long awareness campaign, and we are coming to the end of the month, but we'll certainly have information about those events up on our show, if we can, in the show notes after the show. Thank you so much, Morgan. Have a great week.
Thank you so much.
All right. Thanks, Morgan. Okay, we've got a few announcements to get through before we wrap up today's show. One of them, HCC and Advisors of DREAM, that stands for Disability Rights, Education, Activism, and Mentoring. They're hosting a film festival to watch and discuss short films spotlighting that community. The event includes free popcorn. That's always good. It's from 10 a.m. to noon today at HCC's Central Harmon building at the Central College campus. Go check it out, room 101. Check our post after the show for more details. And it's Spirit Week across the district as well.
That's right, Todd. Immediately after watching that film, you should run down to the Southeast College, because today, Monday, October 23rd, the Student Life and Student Government Association at HCC Southeast are hosting Spirit Week, and they have different themes for every day. Today, from 11:30 to 12:30, today is Pajama Day. Tomorrow, 11:30 to 12:30, is pumpkin carving. Check our post after the show for details.
All right, Recipes for Success. Join Student Life and Tutoring for tips and resources on how students can stay on track, improve their studying skills, and much more. Tutoring is happening 1 p.m. today, Monday, October 23rd. It's a Teams meeting. And also on Wednesday, the 25th, effective note-taking methods. Check that out as well. We'll have some more information on those in our post after the show. And there's free depression screening also happening at the Central College as well.
That's right, Todd. You know, October is National Domestic Abuse Month. It's also National Depression and Education Month, and it is also National Substance Abuse Month. There's a lot of focus on mental health and safety in October. So HCC Central is offering some free depression screenings. The counselors will be available to discuss the results and offer referrals. The confidential substance abuse screening is Tuesday, October 24th from 10 a.m. to noon. And the confidential depression screening is Thursday, October 26th from 10 a.m. to 1 p.m. This is at the HCC Central Harmon building. Check our post after the show for more info.
Okay, I want to skip on down because Wednesday, we mentioned earlier at the top of the show that Up to the Minute is usually every Monday through Friday at 10 a.m. live on HCC in session, but not this Wednesday. Okay, no Up to the Minute on Wednesday. We will have a best of because of an in-service day that we have going on. So keep that in mind, but we will return on Thursday with a live show. And spring registration is underway right now. If you want to take some classes in the spring, I know, Nick, it's a good time to sign up now when it's early.
Yeah, get in, get the class you want, pick the modality, pick the campus, pick the time, pick the professor, get in early. The spring semester really begins in January, although we have some winter mini sessions starting in December. So if you're looking to take classes, even in December onward, enrollment is open. We've got classes in lots of modalities, including online anytime, online on a schedule, in-person traditional. We have hybrid classes. We have in-person and hybrid lab classes. So learn more about HCC programs, courses, start dates, and all the options for costs at hccs.edu/apply.
Okay, tomorrow on the show, the HCC Foundation joins us to talk about their upcoming Bedichek Orman auction. That's happening a little over a week from now. And later this week, for Film Friday, Rooftop Cinema. That's right. They'll return to the show. That's always fun to have them on. And keep in mind, no Up to the Minute on Wednesday. We will be back tomorrow, though, right here. Nick, thanks for being here with us today.
Thank you, you guys. Thank you very much. Everybody out there, have a great week.
Have a great week. Have a great day. And I'll see you tomorrow live at 10 a.m. on Up to the Minute.